All right, joining me as my last guest for tonight is Anni Cyrus. She's back. She's becoming a regular here, isn't she? But I got to get her response. As I did from Robert Spencer tonight to the Crown Prince visiting the White House. And we showed you the video footage of the incredible reception he got for his country and his incredible troubling background. I love to see what Anni thinks about it. And then also what she thinks about Greg Abbott today, finally doing something about Muslim Brotherhood and Council on American Islamic Relations. Although, again, I have to wonder how much of this is just Greg Abbott blowing air. Anni, welcome back. I had to at least bring you on to get your thoughts on this. What did you think when you were watching all this today at the White House?
Well, first of all, it's always good to be back. Secondly, I'm going to be very honest here. I did not watch all of it. I could have stand maybe about 4 minutes. Physically, I literally felt like my organs are twisting inside my body. I can't wrap my head around what's happening in our White House, which is our country. Like, the White House is the symbol of America. And what's happening, like, from excusing a journalist's death, when did we get to where and this isn't the first time, I can review it if you want, but that is just beyond acceptable. How many more of these killers and dictators and Islamists and jihad funders is Trump going to defend and call good looking and the good leader and the strong leader and this and that? That was my limit. From there, that was my limit. The arrival was, I on the phone off air, I asked you, Brian, I said, I would like to know who's paying for this, because if it's my tax dollar, I am not going to pay for it. Who was coming? This guy isn't even the king of Saudi Arabia. Not that if he was the king, we should have spent this much time, energy, effort, coordination. Our veterans are literally on the streets, homeless, barely feeding themselves, and the country has the budget and the time and the manpower to put this charade together for a murderer, for a man who silenced anyone who tries to get inside the inner circle of his entire family's kingdom and monarch to expose what they're doing to their citizens. I can go on for the rest of the night.
And tell our audience, for those who don't know, about his involvement in the murder of the journalist.
He pretty much, based on released information, including from our own CIA, he put the hit on the man. And he funded the entire team that went to Turkey to kill the man and deliver on the hit. Wait a minute, is that real
footage, Logan, or is that AI? He was really slapping hands with him like that? Is that his left hand? He's holding the dude's left hand right there. Yeah. What do they do?
Yeah, they're buddies.
What do they do with their left hand, Anni?
You want me to say?
Go ahead.
They wipe their butt.
Yeah. I mean, I told my wife and son that today. They're like, no. Logan says that sounds normal. They don't use toilet paper, though. They use their actual hand, right?
I should have said they wash using water and left hand. They wash themselves after using the bathroom.
But no toilet paper or towel, just their hand and water.
No, just hand and water.
I mean, but I don't want to get crude here or anything, but how do they do that? I mean, do they like jump over to the sink, or do they put sinks next to the stool so they can do it all in one time in one place?
Oh, no. If you go to not just Middle East, even here to Muslim homes, if they're using what Middle Easterns call the Western bathroom, which is what we're used to here, there is on the side when we have the, what do we call it, flush?
Yeah,
flush the toilet.
Yeah, the knob,
they have a little hose.
The handle of the flush
yes,
the toilet?
There's a little hose next to it, though. Getting water from the same tank, they use that hose. If you go to Middle East, majority of the homes, their toilet isn't the way ours is. It's literally a stoned hole on the ground. They have to sit and put their weight on their legs while using the toilet. And then also there's a faucet with a hose on the wall that they use to do the washing.
And again, I don't want to get graphic, but they just use their bare hand and water.
Yes.
But what? According to the Quran, they have to use their left hand.
Well, yes. There's a left foot that you walk into the toilet with, and then you use your left hand to wash and hold the hose with your right hand.
And this is in the Quran.
Not in the Quran. It's in Sharia. It's in Reliance.
Reliance of the Traveler?
Yes.
Which is a bunch of...
And don't quote me, I think there is one Sahih Muslim and one Dawood hadith about it. Now, back in Muhammad time, there was no technology of hose or flush or whatever. So it was the water in a little small, like a pitcher they would keep next to their toilet.
So can we go back to what you were just showing, Logan? Does President Trump realize he's slapping hands with the left hand there that does the business? Because he's a germaphobe, right?
Is he? I didn't know the germaphobe, but I don't think he does. And even if he did, I mean, look at that excitement in this guy. By this guy, I mean Trump. And again, when you look at that close-up, I said this in a funny way last week on your show, and we laughed about it. But you keep that close-up scene, you would actually think Trump is in Saudi Arabia at Crown Prince's room with all that gold display. My Islamophobia aside, if you didn't pick up on the sarcasm, I'm being sarcastic. That aside, all of my bad experiences as a child under Islam aside, all of my decade of work to save Muslim girls and women aside, I cannot believe that President Trump is lowering the standard of our White House to an extent that you don't even have to be a world leader. You don't even have to have the title or the crown or the election behind you to just have fun at White House with Trump.
Shoo. All right. So now we're going to give Saudi Arabia F-35s. I asked Robert Spencer about that. What do you think about that?
I think that is brilliant. More chaos in Middle East. Let Saudi Arabia have all the things they need to get behind Turkey and wipe Israel off the map. Why not? Saudi Arabia isn't rich enough to do it on their own. You know, it's not like they sit on billions and billions of tanks of oil. It's not like they're number one seller in the world. Let's give them F-35. So when they decide that they have had it with Jelani, and Jelani, they're losing control of Jelani, which, by the way, they already are losing control of Jelani. On another breaking news, Saudi Arabia just lost complete control of Iraq. They can use their F-35 on Iraq, on Syria. Hey, let's use it on Iran. Why not? Because we're looking for everlasting peace in Middle East, and nothing screams everlasting peace better than selling more weapons and military equipment to bunch of jihadists. I'm sorry. I know my level of sarcasm is off the chart. If not, I can't. I have reached my limit, Brennan.
Yeah,
I can't.
Well,
by the way, if I could insert breaking news, Iraq just had their parliament election, and the party that won the majority of seats there is the one and only party fully funded and backed by Iran. Iraq just went full control under IRGC. And that's how Saudi lost track of Iraq. We are about to lose full control
and by
of
the
Iraq.
way, not to defend Saddam Hussein, but if he were still alive, I don't know if he'd be alive anymore with his age, but if he were still in control, he wouldn't have let Iran take over.
Never. That's the fun. This is where I tell people, stop saying 3D chess, game of politics. We backed Saddam Hussein in Iran-Iraq war for 8 years because we were trying to clean up Carter's mess by placing mullahs in Iran. When that war was over and we realized we can't topple the regime even during 8 years of war funding Saddam Hussein, then we went back and said, weapon of mass destruction in Iraq because, well, we gave it to Saddam Hussein. Let's go get rid of Saddam Hussein so we can control Iraq to be closer to controlling Iran. And 20 years later, guess what? Iran controls Iraq.
Not to mention, I think a bunch of British and American petroleum companies got oil out of Iraq.
Yes. Don't forget France. It was France, UK, and US funding the war while sucking oil out of Iraq. And some opium, for that matter. That we're repeating the same pattern. Look, okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna make this short, and I'm gonna stay calm and coherent. I am watching an interview today with one of the heads of Iran's war assessment or war room personnel. And this guy's sitting there using our action to motivate Iranians to not topple the regime. How does he do that? He brings up the full history of America's involvement with Iraq, Afghanistan, and Libya. And on the comments section, I watch as comments of Iranians who hate the regime with every cell in their body saying, as long as we don't have guarantee U.S. isn't coming into Iran, we should let the mullahs stay in power. There is so much evidence in Middle East of our wrongdoing, for lack of a better term, that Middle Easterns are starting to think they're better off with mullahs and al-Shura than ever thought of America having a role.
All right, let me switch topics real quick with you. I guess Mondani there of New York has endorsed a lady by the name of Kawas. Kawas. I think she's running. What is she running for? I think she's running for New York State Assembly. He's endorsed her for New York State Assembly. Have you heard this? Have you heard her speak?
I have not heard the video.
Right.
I believe you sent me the video, but I haven't watched it yet.
Well, here it is. Well, let me plug it in. Plug it in, House.
So, and finding that, the system of capitalism and racism and white supremacy, etc., and Islamophobia have all been used, to colonize lands, right, to take resources from other people. And so this is a long trajectory. And we're just seeing the manifestations of that continuation, right, with 9/11. And so a lot of times when people are asking us to respond about, attack, right, if you look back, historically, right, a lot of us come from lands that were colonized, lands where wars are being waged, right, and a lot of times because of U.S. policy or the policies in Europe. And so I find that we can connect over that, but then also that the idea that we have to apologize for a terror attack that a couple of people did, and then there is no apologies or reparations for genocides and for slavery, etc., is something that I kind of find
Okay, she's as dumb as a box of rocks.
Is she Palestinian?
I don't know what she is. She's disgusting. Because
she
reparations, it was the Muslims that were helping to grab the slaves and bring them to the slave ships. So she wants to talk about reparations. Is she talking about reparations for slavery in America? Then go get it from the Islamic nations with all the money.
No, she's asking for genocide, reparation for genocide that has taken place in Middle East. That's what she's asking.
Oh, really? You mean where the Muslims have killed Christians? That kind of reparations for the Christians?
Exactly,
No,
or the Baha'is, or the Zoroastrians.
She's writing her own history. Talk about colonization. Who is it that took over Egypt? That was a Coptic Christian nation. So the Muslims came over there and took it over. I mean, you could name other countries this has happened to. Iran, right?
Yes. Let me quickly. This might come to you and your audience as a surprise. She literally just said what I was saying, twisted in her own narrative, though. She is right. You see a lot of damage, a lot of death, a lot of war happening in Middle East because of American policy. I just said that before we went to her video.
Right.
That is correct. But she's twisting it into, we're not going to tell people about Islamic jihad. We're going to tell people about the few people who committed terrorism. So we're going to hide half-truth again.
She was referring to 9/11, a few people that did a few things, kind of.
Or October 7th. I'm going to look it up. The way she's wearing her hijab is extremely Palestinian. But she doesn't have an accent, so she might be Palestinian family born in America, but she might be referring to October 7th. She might be referring to September 11th. She might be referring to all of it. But I want to say, this is why I get frustrated. We have given them enough material to twist the truth or tell half-truth. If I was Lord forbid, if I was a leftist, brainwashed Muslim woman, I would sit and say the same things, except I would be a lot smarter in my sentencing. And I would say, look at Iraq, look at Libya, look at Afghanistan, look at this, look at that. And I would make everybody believe that it is all because of American policy. It's not. I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying if we don't wake up, if we don't realize what we're doing, we're just giving these people, these liars who are using Taqiyya and Ketman and Hudna and Hijra to conquer our country, we're just giving them enough ammunition to sit there and say what they say. Again, I'm not defending her. You get what I'm saying here, right?
Yep.
We need to stop our politicians from creating the narrative that these people can use.
Yep.
And also we need to publicly, for example, instead of inviting al-Shara or Erdogan or Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia and whomever is next on the list, my bet is on Iran's president. I want this on the record. My bet is the next invitation will be the president of Iran, and everybody's going to come out saying, well, Obama did it too. Nobody's going to blame Trump for doing it. They're just going to compare it to Obama, which, yes, he did. Anyways, side note. Point is, instead of doing all of that, we should publicly educate Americans on the truth history of Islam, Islamization, Islamic Jihad. When you invite these jihadists into your White House, empower them, legitimize them, and then this, whomever she is, sits there and tell half-truth of history, I can't blame Americans for believing her or having sympathy for her. We need to be educated. We need to stop looking at who's coming to the White House and think just because they're at the White House, they're good guys. Those days are over. Apparently today, the bigger of a land Trump owns in your country, the bigger the invitation to White House.
Okay, other topic real quick. What do you make of Muslim Brotherhood and CARE being designated as a terrorist and transnational criminal organization by Abbott? Is this just, I asked this of Robert Spencer earlier tonight, is this just more posturing by the governor of Texas, Abbott, or will he actually do something?
I don't think he's going to do something. I believe this was a show because he was receiving too much heat about Epic City, about the entire immigration campus thing there. He just wanted to come out and say, look, I did something for my people and I designated Muslim Brotherhood. We both know designation on its own doesn't do anything. Is he going to have his people go start chasing down Muslim Brotherhood linked soldiers in Texas? No. If they pick one up, is he going to make sure they're deported? No, he's just going to dump it at federal government and move on. It's another, throw them a little bit of bone so they'll stop being upset. That's my take on it.
Take a look at this here, guys. LUTFstudio.com, LUTFstudio.com. These are handmade by Annie herself. They're one of a kind. And they make great Christmas gifts. LUTFstudio.com. We get nothing for mentioning it other than we want to make sure Annie has plenty of side work because that's what helps fund her work and research. So again, LUTF Studio. I said before, I love that color blue. LUTFstudio.com. Look at that. That's a cool bowl. Is that a bowl? That's a bowl, right?
Candle holder.
A candle holder. That's cool. Okay, so LUTFstudio.com. LUTF stands for Live Up to Freedom. LUTFstudio.com. Make great Christmas gifts. Check them out. And then, of course, she's up at liveuptofreedom.com, liveuptofreedom.com, and liveuptofreedom.substack.com. I think I got it all in there, Annie.
Amazing. Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yes, they're all correctly in there.
All right. Well, try to calm down and get some sleep tonight. Don't get too upset. We'll try to hold down the fort.
I will try. If not tonight, definitely tomorrow night.
Anni Cyrus checking in. Liveuptofreedom.com, liveuptofreedom.substack.com, and LUTFstudio.com. All right, guys. Another big broadcast tonight. By the way, we're working on my commentary, my verse-by-verse commentary on the book of Revelation. I spent a year and a half teaching through that. And now we're laying the pages out and editing it. How long is it going to be, Logan? How many pages? What do you think? You couldn't give me a guess? More than 500 pages? Okay, more than 500 pages. Maybe 1,000? 2 parts. It's going to be so big we have to do 2 parts. Well, it's 22 chapters and it's verse by verse, so that's going to happen. But we are busy doing that. We thought we were going to get it out by the end of the month. I don't think so. I think it'll be in December that we get it out. Let's pray. Because I got to go through everything and make sure that everything is correct. I didn't make any mistakes when I was talking and writing, because I wrote all this and gave it all and then come back and write some more onto it. And I got to make sure that everything's and then I give it to an editor. And I got to make sure nothing got changed. And then I think of some things. I want to add a few things. So it's a big process. Whew, it's a big process. But anyway, we do have my Hamas book. How about Siege, right? That's in there, right, Logan? All of that's in the vault. All that's in the vault automatically. Worldviewtube.com/vault. Now, do we have all the national conferences in there now? All the keynotes from that? Yeah. Except for Alex, right? We still got to get Alex's in there because we had to fix his audio and his clips. So we got to get that done. But all the rest of them are in there. There's 35 years. We'll just say 35. But next year we'll start saying 36. 35 years of ebooks, audiobooks, transcripts, documentaries, conference DVDs, and so more on demand for as little as $7.99 a month, folks. It's a great way to support us and get great content. Archive of 35 years of content there at worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault. Now, don't forget, we need your support through our foundation. Do not forget us in your end of the year giving. We had to buy another server the other day. Is that what you call it, Logan? A server? That hard drive? What'd that cost? $6,000? We had another one. That one was about $6,000. Then we got, what did you get that one by? 3 or 4 years ago? And they fill up. They get full. We keep using them, but they get full. And we got to then go get another one because we're adding so many files and we got to archive this stuff and hold it all. So if you appreciate all we're doing, understand we're constantly having to buy new equipment and additional equipment because you have to have somewhere to store all these files that you're watching. Now we're live, but when we go off, guess what? We're going to load it back up. That has to be loaded somewhere. That has to sit somewhere. And then we have to back it up in multiple places. So it's just $6,000 here, $5,000 there. It's crazy. Television production is so expensive. So if you appreciate the fact that we're pushing out free programming, it's not free for us to produce. So please be as generous as possible with your end of the year giving. WorldviewFoundation.com. Can you do $500? Can you do $1,000? Can you do more than that? WorldviewFoundation.com. We need your support. Roll the music. Let's call it a night. WorldviewFoundation.com. Okay? Now, don't forget, coming up on Thursday, December 4th, and Thursday, December 4th, Friday, December 5th, we're doing a international worldview weekend. We're going to preempt all programming for that day, other than my normal radio show, and bring in lots of speakers to do a 2-day international worldview weekend that'll be absolutely free. Mark your calendar, December 4 and 5. All right? So next time, I'm Brandon House. May God save America. Take care.